Alright. Poppy versus Xenophon 1v1. Seeing an appropriate amount of shuttles already. Xenophon seems to be running 3 450 cruisers as her central fleet. Do these have a spyglass track correlator set up? Yes. Do all of them? Nah, some have parallaxes. Also a trio of pretty bare-bones rail DDs. Couple of seals with torpedo backpacks.
Interesting. What would they decide to do?
Torpedoes are cheaper and harder, I guess.
The enemy is securing zone common.
There is also a couple of beam DDs, one lurking towards C, one lurking towards A. And then a scattering of... not even a scattering, there is two bare... okay, no. Maybe there is a scattering of cheap cap corvettes.
The enemy is securing zone boxer.
And then spyglass, some pretty decked out spyglass missile braids with jammers and S3H for counter sniping OSP scouts. Speaking of which, one of those might be dying. Now what does Hunter have? Single
The enemy
Acello.
secured zone dagger.
Doesn't look like there's an interrupt. Already a grape going out on those direct
The enemy
S3H, one is
secured
dead.
zone common.
The other may just miss entirely or get shot down. Anyways, Hunter has seems to be a spread of early warning and MMTs, as well as a Bloodhound. That's another Bloodhound.
The enemy secured zone boxer.
Anyway, lots of scouts. And then rocket shuttles hidden all over the map. As well as a squad of 5 who were driving boldly onto the A point, thus far uncontested. There's a couple of brick monitors with container backpacks, which already seem to have been emptied. No, I think those might just be there for HP, actually. Both teams are capping their naturals. The shuttle ball onto A is largely uncontested. Xenophon's beam DD is moving to engage. There it goes. I don't think she can kill all 5 of them before the cap is had, however, especially with the time it takes to rotate. Yeah, shuttles are leaving. Did Hunter forget the
enemy
E-cap?
secured zone Atlas.
Well, he dropped a shuttle there, but it doesn't seem to have actually gone for him. So, maybe. Let's take a look at this Acello. Aurora's couple bastions, and chaff and flares. No interrupt, which is interesting. I guess he's just taking it for the bullseye then. As for the LN core, there's a plasma casemate that's already suffering under the attention of the Axfords and Rail DDs.
The enemy is securing zone
It's
Eclipse.
backed up by a 250 and 450. Another 450. Overall, I'd say Xeno's brought a far stronger combat force. Most of Hunter's power is tied up in these 5 LNs right here, which don't even appear to have a fireball track. Oh, they got a bloodhound on. And one of them starting to shoot back at this broadside outlet. Oh, there's also a mass driver low that is starting to make this heavy cruiser suffer. See how well Hunter can micro this, because I think a lot of his killing power is tied up at those rocket shuttles, and
The enemy secured zone
those can
eclipse.
be rather attention
I think the
consuming.
Hunters making is actually pretty good here, considering that none of the ANS assets are in line to really cap points. And they're not in line to flank or make use of all of these ships moving to their side.
That's true. Xenophon's lost the A-cap, but doesn't seem to have a great way of getting it back. Her Vauxhalls are also pushing out into the open, where I believe they're getting hit by mass drivers. That is a very bad place for Vauxhalls to be. In the meantime, Hunters managed to achieve a rather aggressive position by just rushing forwards with all these long-haul liners and getting into the cover of the left C-pillar, from which he can have a pretty dominating position against the ANS spawn, should he so choose. However, currently it seems he's content to hang back and control the space, as he does have the cap advantage. This cap corvette dumped its AMMs into a rock and is being grape shotted, so it is going to die. 3 shuttles were lost in the capture of the A point, but there are plenty more where that came from. EOS-3H attacking MMT, let's see, so they are 2. Decent effect, but hardly enough to disable the tugboat. That's a job that the 450s from the Axford Baller will have to finish. The rail DDs are now being spotted on burn through, presumably by the MMT that's pushed up. They seem to be still focusing towards the liner ball. Beam DD behind the C-pillar? Oh yes. I've played it here once in a while. It can be useful for intercepting pushes out of the B-Rock. However, it seems that Hunter's rush has been a little too aggressive for that to work. Still, if he decides to push around the edge of the pillar too carelessly, the Beam DD could definitely snipe 1 or 2 liners before he has a chance to take it out. Vauxhall's continuing to be very aggressive. Took some fire from the liners, which seem to have backed off just a little bit. Xenophon's trying to get them into the cover of this rock over here. However, they are, I believe, starting to take fire from the monitor on E as well. That is not the greatest threat. It's only armed with a plasma casemate and a pair of T-20s. However, it's hardly negligible, given that these are already so beat up. There seems to be a shuttle moving in, possibly just to scout and or pressure C. Armed with T-20s, which ought to be capable of dealing with the corvette Xenophon is parked over the point. However, the Beam DD she's left behind, as well as the blob of combat ships, will likely ensure its death. Torpedoes going out towards the Axford, their command semi-active. Hunter will probably be able to rock PD these, which is good because he did not bring an interrupt. Or defenders. Disaster nearly averted for Hunter. Xenophon doesn't have a lock on the shuttle, and therefore only 1 torpedo will hit. Defenders are still capable of oh man, the torpedoes are coming around for a second pass, and this time they do manage to take it down. CL's really not in a good shape. The fast drivers have managed to get back on to them, and Now with their PD degraded, the rockets seem to be getting through at last. There are torpedo strikes in response, but still very badly bruised. Let's see, how many restores does she have? She could begin to chain them, I suppose, but these are hardly going to be operating at maximum effectiveness for the rest of the game. Let's check back on the liners. Hunter seems to have decided to split two of them off. These look like the 450s. No, one 450 and one plasma. To control the center of the map, I suppose, probably in response to the CLs. Those should execute them fairly easily. Meanwhile, I believe that leaves a plasma, a 250, and a 450 to continue pushing the ANS spawn. They found the beam DD and seem to have killed it before it could do much in the way of response. Or maybe... No, I think this was just the plasma liner that the Axfords were shooting earlier. And the Axfords will continue to take it out. Yeah, looking at the material losses, OSP does seem to be pulling ahead. The game is, not over yet, especially since this liner is almost certain to go down. And Xenophon does seem like she'll be able to hold on to her naturals convincingly as long as she can deal with this shuttle trying to sneak onto what seems to be D. Gunnery duel continuing. That liner definitely gonna die, but the other two seem to be making it out alive, of course. The 250 liner will struggle to do too much against the Axfords. Without plasma, that is. However, even the 250 AP can put in some pretty good work if Xenophon's not bound tanking. She's rotating to take out the shuttle.
The enemy is
Doesn't look like
zone
anything's in position to really stop that. And no corvettes really nearby either. At the same time, one of the cappers is going on to A, the mass drivers are shooting it. It's lost its main thruster.
The enemy is securing Zone Atlas.
I'd say that with the array of 100 mil that Hunter has lying around, he'll most likely be able to take it out at some point. Meanwhile, another corvette, as well as one of the Vauxhalls, now very close to death, are diving onto E. However, I'd expect the monitor to hold it without difficulty. The other Vauxhall, similarly crippled by Hunter's fine ships that were previously split from the blob. And the Cello just hang by A and providing locks where it can. Alright, Hunter actually doesn't seem to be doing much about this corvette. Unless the mass drivers get a lucky shot, it's likely that Xenophon will secure A. However, there are several shuttles ready to jump back in on it if we can. Seals are basically done. Let's see. The main ANS combat blob consisting of the heavy cruisers and rail DDs seems to be mostly intact. Xenophon has lost the 2 cruisers and the beam DD here. She's also thrown away 3 Captain corvettes, including the one on A, which will have died for nothing as 2 shuttles are making their way onto the point. Hunter, on the other hand, has lost a lot of shuttles, as well as a single MMT that tried to go towards the sea point. However, his main combat force seems to be mostly untouched, only losing the singular line ship, and his map control has so much redundancy that the loss of
The
6
enemy is
clippers
securing
isn't going
Zone
to do
Atlas.
much to deter it. Yep, Hunter is recapping A. The cruiser blob. Well, it's certainly not being very active. Not sure what Xenophon's trying to do. It seems like she's unlikely to hit either of Hunter's combat forces, which, though split up and individually weaker, will be able to crossfire her if she's careless. These two appear to be heading lower.
Yeah, Xenophon's going to be taking D and A at the same time.
D and A. Well, she'll be losing A.
Well, then retake. Right.
I don't think so.
The enemy secured Zone Atlas.
Anyways, heavy cruisers heading down. Hunter. Oh, I see the beam did get onto the A point. One more shuttle will die, however the point remains lost. What is this shooting at? Looks like it's still the dead Vauxhall. Okay. Oh, only bulk mags. Yeah, that's an interesting choice. Cello doesn't seem to be focused on the heavy cruisers. I don't know. It would be a nice pickup, however. Xenophon really needs to get on top of those bulkers if she wants to take out Hunter's combat forces. And I think at this point, with a 4 cap and no retakes anywhere close, it does seem like she'll have to win a military victory and then just sit on caps with her Axfords if she wants to win the game. Hunter, meanwhile, is playing very passive, as he should really. The Acello, hard to tell what direction that's moving in. Well, it's doing its best. Bass driver is shooting a dead Corvette. These guys are shooting dead Vauxhalls. I suppose he's probably forgotten to cancel the fire orders or to check if their targets are actually dead. These guys have pushed up to C.
The enemy is securing Zone Dagger.
That Corvette will be dead in very short order. I wonder if he'll try and cap it either with the liners or the Bloodhound target. I don't think it's a good idea though, because Xenophon could rotate and take these out very easily, but he does appear to be backing off. Oh, there are a lot of shuttles that are working around the edges. Maybe he could send one of those in there. The Axfords and the rail DDs probably can't take this thing out that quickly. Axford finally recapping D, but is exposing itself to broadside fire from both the mass driver and the Acello. So, you know, there's happier Axfords, and you can see the DC lockers starting to go
The
down.
enemy secured Zone Dagger.
Where's that bulk mag? No. Looks like she has a reinforced magazine in this one. Axfords are finally getting a line of fire onto these line ships, but with the long haul and their crazy acceleration, they should be able to just dance around the rock forever. What are the rail DDs working on? Hunter has set the shuttle into cap. It's
The enemy is securing Zone
not
Comet.
dead yet. That may change shortly. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah, Xenophon's really been backed into this corner here where all her ships that she's sent out piecemeal have just been slaughtered by Hunter's line ships, as well as his, shuttles and monitors overwatching the various points. Axford continuing to suffer. BeamDD without good targets, also being chased down by an MMT and a T-20 shuttle that's made its way into Xenophon's spawn. But yeah, she does seem to be kinda backed into a corner here. She did have a third Axford somewhere. What happened to that? Oh no, there's just two stacked up on top of each other. The shuttle did go down, preventing the sea cap, but these guys... These might be going liner hunting. I don't know if that's the wisest course of action. Rail DDs have got a line on these things, which are trying desperately to stay behind the rock. But at some point they will just be able to fight the Axford blob straight up, especially if the liners down here, clean up this Axford and get into the fight. Alright. So with Xeno down about 250 points, my math is correct. Does seem unlikely that she's going to win this. Though Hunter could still throw the game, he's been doing a pretty good job of it so far. Looks like Xenophon's found the monitor. Fortunately, at a very long range, it's well, it's starting to take damage. Probably structure broken by now. But even if she does manage to take it down, it's going to be hard to actually get onto the point because she's out of corvettes, and there's just liners watching every move. One of the 250 liners is pressuring the Axford. 450 is getting it on the fun. It's started bow tanking, so it's standing up fairly well. The liner, a little more fragile, but with the high health of the buffed C-56s, it's not... can take a little far before going down. Still, Hunter does seem to be accelerating them into cover, and that's probably a good decision because he's already starting to lose armaments on this one already. Now the plasma finally pulled off of those light cruisers is starting to join in, and though it's at a pretty long range, Xenophon's really going to start suffering, especially if the cruiser gets hit from multiple angles like this. Looks like the 450 has been tasked to finish off the mostly crippled heavy cruiser that's trying to wander its way onto A. Alongside the Acela.
The enemy is
No, the
securing
Acela
zone
is
dagger.
shooting at the BPD. Xenophon's probably not going to be able to cap it. There's a shuttle heading to intercept. He has managed to sneak Hunter's managed to sneak an LT onto D.
The enemy is securing zone Atlas.
It's also
The
disabled one
enemy
of the
is
spy
securing zone
frigates.
Comet.
So,
We are contesting zone Atlas.
Plasma's starting to add up on this thing. combat-wise, this game is not that unbalanced. Though I'd say Hunter is still conclusively winning in that regard. Xenophon still has a rather capable core of combat ships left. But in terms of the cap game, Hunter's just been all over it.
The enemy secured zone
I mean,
dagger.
what happened was when Hunter did that aggressive push, they just pulled the heavy cruisers way too far back and they didn't control any important space. And then when it was time to move, they didn't move. So it kind of was over when they got that far back over the.
Yeah.
The
got
enemy
back.
secured zone comet.
I don't know. I wonder if they could have rotated forwards.
The enemy is securing zone Atlas.
You know, sticking closer to the sea point, and that way they'd have been more able to provide fire onto the mid area and perhaps even push down towards the Ocello and Mass Driver liner.
Yeah, that's probably would work. That's what I was thinking.
But that's the game. Let's see. Axford's all doing fairly well for themselves. Braille DD's slightly less so.
Well played.
Yeah. Better played to you.
Your micro tax is a lot less noticeable in 6K.
Yeah. No, my micro was not on point there.
Like that little Ocello maneuver at the start.
Yeah, that was
Ready
good.
to shoot destroyers. Protect the ACAP.
Yep.
I recognize this 12K Hunter.
Do you?
Yeah, you kicked me and a bunch of people's asses with it once.
I certainly did.
Same move too.
Yep. It's one of those things too. Like if you've never played against it, it's hard to defend against.
Yeah.
That-
Often.
Yeah, that aggressive push there is always.
It takes people off. Like it knocks you off kilter. Like you don't really know how to respond to it right away.
I think what I should have done there is, the DD was in the right spot. I just didn't have it microed right. Like that could have done some damage. But also, I should have moved the CLs up there. They had torps. They could have killed a couple of LMs, I think.
You're making a
If I
gamble
caught him around the
pushing
corner.
that blob. You're making a
Yeah.
serious gamble pushing that blob. It's got 6 Pavis as well. So
Yeah, I don't. Will 6 PVs beat 6 Corp Torps? Or more like 12 Corp Torps if they can fire them all at once.
if you have them tuned right, it won't. Like definitely
Yeah.
not. But you're taking a
I don't
very
know if I have these tuned right.
you're taking a very serious gamble pushing that group of ships to begin with, because like there's a chance that that number of LNs is going to flat out kill one of the CLs before they even get close to it.
CL's kind of like taking 665
I mean, basically, my thought was, my thinking is like what I could have maybe done is, if I had gotten them, beneath perhaps, or around the side where they weren't looking, and then just smoked them from there. But I don't know.
The answer to a C push like that is an E push. Like if you
Yeah.
had your ships like this is one of the reasons why like the low butt crack fucking CD maneuver with the CH blob is better. Like going high above D, like it's kind of unintuitive, but like coming into the inside of the map in front of D and then like rotating, I don't know, it's hard to describe it without like looking at the map, but like rotating, like pivoting, I guess actually is a better way to put it, around the center of the map towards the E pillar with your primary anchor, and then having everything else sort of follow underneath, because like the only thing defending E was the MN and the
Mhm.
CC, plus the
Yeah.
the mass driver was also able to, but like you're yeah, like I don't want to tell you what to do, but if you like, I'll
No, yeah, I mean, I'll take advice.
yeah, from my perspective, like you made the right move pushing the CLs in the direction that they did. They just didn't have backup. Like you needed to have the 450 CHs there to help the CLs as well, because if you had that, my CC wouldn't have been able to do anything. Like my CC would have been in a very bad position to try to kill the CLs with the MP. So like I can't. First of all, you're like taxing me to begin with. Like any kind of tax you can influence on your opponent, especially to 12k, is like a huge deal. That's why I was throwing ships all around the place. Like even if they weren't even really doing anything, I was just like telling them to move in a specific direction. So yeah, like having the 450 blob move with the 250 CL, torp 250 CLs towards E at the same time would have I think you would have been in a position to be able to come back from that.
Yeah, I think so.